Welcome to the Design Build Institute of America's Design Build Delivers podcast. I'm Kim Wright at DBIA's national headquarters. There are a lot of factors which impact Design Build's vision of one team, one goal. For owners, choosing a qualified owner advisor can make or break that vision. Even the name itself can be confusing. Whether it's owner advisor, owner rep, owner's consultant, it's important to understand this important role and how to pick the right person for the job. DBIA's Owner Advisor Task Force has been working to better define this position and to guide owners. Today, we talk to Task Force member Bill Shepler, PMSI's CEO, about the new DBIA Primer, selecting and using an owner advisor in Design Build. We also want to offer our thanks to the newest member of our podcast team, Georgia Pacific Gypsum, for their support in bringing this conversation to you. Bill, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
We want to talk about owners consultants or owners advisors or owners reps, or even just the terminology isn't simple, right?
Yeah. On our first call, we spent probably an hour and a half discussing and trying to decide what this was going to be called, because as you cross the United States, there are different titles for relatively the same work, but so, there were some people that was really hung on to one or the other. So
it's kind of representative of the issue overall, right?
Yep.
One person's owner's rep is another it's not necessarily the same thing. So what was the mission overall when you folks got together to try to get your handle on this? What did you want to end up with?
Well, we've been talking about this for 10 years. Okay. And last year at this convention, we just got some people together and said, we're going to make it happen this year. And so, it was a committee that had started and stopped and whatever. So at least this year we said we're going to get something done on that. And so, the overall mission is trying to define what kind of a role owners representatives have in the industry. And we found that was very, very diverse. Everything from somebody who comes in and does the criteria development for a design build project, or the AE1, some people call it, to, like me, I'm more of a global. I generally take an owner through a process from beginning to end. So, and there was something everywhere in between. So we kind of settled on then what value and what skills does an owner rep need to bring into that role, rather than defining exactly what role was and leaving that piece loose enough so it could apply in a number of different areas. So,
is that diversity across sectors too? I would think you would see diversity in so many different ways.
Yes, some of it is sectors. Some of it is people have been using the West Coast and the East Coast uses owner agents in different ways. And some of the people who was on the phone have been doing this a long time, but they had a fairly narrow, this is what we do, this is what we call it. And so that led to some pretty interesting discussions of, okay, but
but how do we take that globally then?
How do we take that globally? I do design build projects, but I do all kinds of projects. And I've been an owner rep since I started my company in 1989. So I've lived through a few ups and downs and a few changes. And even in my small Indiana, about 3 or 4 times in that period of time, I had to kind of change my approach, because as would develop, not much what I did changed, but how I approached it, what I called it changed, because the market would kind of absorb. I started in 1989, and I said I was a project manager. Well, all the trucks in the area of the construction people were construction managers and general contractors. In about 6 or 8 years, all of them were now project managers, construction. So they didn't change what they did, but that term. So later on I went to innovation, innovative solutions, and then then got in, we didn't get design build authority until 2006 in Indiana, which required a criteria developer by legislation. So that kind of began to change it again a little bit. So
how would you describe the fundamental role of an effective, good design build owner's consultant? What do they really need to provide to that owner?
Well, what I would tell you is it's not really that much in my role, that it's not that much different in design build in other areas.
Okay.
Now, in some roles it's easier because the delivery method makes it easier. But in my role, I try to help an owner be a good owner. Most of my clients are local government. Indiana has, in the counties, has 3 elected officials, which are called commissioners. They serve 4 years at a time. They come from all sectors. I mean, bankers, farmers, whatever. Most of them come in with no project experience. So my role is to step in to their seat for this project. My goal is to lead them through a process, through an acquisition strategy, so that we look at, define their goals, find their objectives, what are their constraints, what are we trying to accomplish with this project, and then we will take them through an educational process of all delivery methods. And so try to explain the pros and cons of each one of those.
To help them make the right match.
Yeah, right. And so through that process, by the planning piece of that, I normally end up with a project budget. We'll end up with a program and scope fixed, the schedule fixed, how we're going to finance it, the financing in place on that. And we'll do all that prior to involving any design, any construction, whatever.
On the one hand, I see where that would be an incredible bridge, particularly for a new owner who's maybe new to design build, has no idea whether that's going to be a fit for the project or not. Having that consultation for somebody who actually knows how to deliver a design build project to help them bridge that gap, make that first step, make that transition, and do it effectively.
Right. And so once we've gone through that, then we'll talk about delivery and what makes a good delivery system. What delivery system matches best with their goals and objectives? Those can be very, very different. Which one matches best with their DNA? I mean, sometimes you just can only do so much because that's as much as an owner is going to allow you to do. But anyway, once we've done that, then I'm involved in the RFQs and RFPs for the design, construction, whatever system is that. I oversee that process. I stay on board through the construction. I attend all the progress meetings. Generally, I handle the financing. I approve all payments, and that's for everybody. And that includes I generally handle the attorneys and the
which I'm sure everybody appreciates.
Well, again, this is something that's outside their realm, outside their what they're normally used to do. So we tend to we step into the owner's shoes for the duration of that project, and then that includes moving, buying furniture, data and communication, basically everything that makes that project operate when they move into it.
Great design builders are all about innovation, integration, and efficiency. That's why we're happy to have Georgia Pacific Gypsum as our Design Build Delivers partner. The DENS element barrier system with AquaCore technology from Georgia Pacific Gypsum creates the water-resistive and air barrier within, eliminating the need for an additional on-site crew to apply a separate WRBAB. This innovative product provides a high-performance integrated sheathing solution for architects concerned with preserving the integrity of their building designs and offers contractors better control of their project schedules and potential time savings.
I would think the challenge that we would see in an industry, particularly in design build, where we just talked about earlier, everything is it evolves. Yeah. It's not static. Just the delivery process itself has changed significantly. If you have an owner's consultant who isn't well versed in design build, I see where that would be a huge disconnect for the owner.
Yeah, and what's happened in the industry is a lot of owner representation is growing out of construction, and so they know the construction process, but they don't know very little about the front end of it, and people sell what they're comfortable with. So they're coming in and a lot of times selling CMA, this would be a construction managed agent, and most, in my area, that leads to a multi-prime delivery method. And in my opinion, no owner should never do that unless they have to.
Right.
It's just high risk. So those checks and balances that come with each of the delivery systems generally don't get explored.
Which means it's a missed opportunity then for the owner.
Right.
So you've got an owner's consultant who's you're turning to for best advice, but if they're not well versed in all of the various options, then kind of getting off on the wrong foot to begin with. Is that the impetus for, usually when committees come together like this, they're solving the problem. Is that the problem that you really, as a group, wanted to solve?
I think our problem we really wanted to solve is how does an owner representative need to be equipped? We spent a little time on their roles and responsibilities, but basically we've said, you need to define those. And so it was kind of a broad net. But here's the kind of credentials, the skills that an owner rep should carry when he comes to an owner. This is geared for owners. It's not really geared. So give them some confidence as they're interviewing people, talking to people, that they've kind of made the right choice of that. So.
When it comes to using an owner rep specifically in design build, we often say at DBIA, the project is only as good as the owner who's implementing it.
Right.
I would think that a deep knowledge in design build is critical if you're an owner rep who's recommending deliver a design build project.
Correct. It is. I did design build as a contractor for years. I get 20 years of experience as a general and construction manager before I started this company. So, and one of the things that attracted me to DBIA when we passed the legislation is I found that how DBIA approached a project was very similar to how I was approaching a project. We still hear horror stories about design build where it was kind of build design. And so people shied away from it because, I'll build it and then I'll give you a set of documents of what we're building, and so I like the methodology that they brought to it. I like the professionalism that they brought to it. So it was a good attraction to me. And
best practices that lay it out as a way. We know that this is successful because you see it nationwide.
Yeah. And yes, and the tool, the best practices, is relatively new. That's not very old, but I think that was probably one of the better tools that we've developed, kind of same way we developed this one, and looking at it nationally and what do we need to bring to the table. So,
well, what's so great about this new primer, I think, too, is that it really does. It fits a need that is out there really broadly. And like you said, East Coast, West Coast, it's going to hit a large number of people who really just need to know what's the best way to approach this.
Well, and also sectors. We circulated this through all the major AIAs, AGCs, so they got a chance to speak into that. And they're very different. Their ideas on what design build was very different. So to be able to talk across sections and different industry standards and bring them together, I think is a huge, hopefully that'll be a huge outcome of this.
So as Bill mentioned, it's important that the various sectors of our industry come together to help address shared issues as our business constantly evolves and changes. The DBIA Owner Advisor Task Force continues its work on the Selecting and Using Owner Advisor Primer. The most recent updates address topics such as owner advisor qualifications, including leadership, technical, and facilitative skills. Also, the scope of services offered by owner advisors, including pre-award and post-award support, and then commonly used terminology to help ensure we're all communicating from the same page. The newly updated primer will be released at our 2019 Design Build for Transportation Aviation and Water Wastewater conferences in Cincinnati, April 8th through 12th. If you can't join us there, you can also download the Owner Advisor Primer from our website at dbia.org. You'll find it under the Owners tab. Thanks so much to our Design Build Delivers podcast sponsor, Georgia Pacific Gypsum, for their support in bringing the best design build conversations directly to you.